Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, National Sales Manager for Bona Adhesives.
And I'm Rob Johnson with a new title, Wayne.
I heard you got a new title.
Yeah. Oh,
wow. Where's the bill at?
I've got a new title. And I don't think it's just for Halloween. I think this title is real now.
Okay. They're giving you a new title.
My old title was BCC Developmental Specialist.
Nice.
My new title is, and I like this new title.
Okay.
I mean, it's not national. I'm not there yet.
Man, no,
but my new title is Tech and Training Field Manager.
Tech and Training Field Manager.
Tech and Training Field Manager.
Manager, though. You got manager behind it.
They squeezed manager in there. Nobody showed me the secret handshake, though. Maybe that's a different type of management.
Wow.
Maybe that's difference between management and manager.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't get my special slippers.
Middle management.
I didn't. Mid management. I didn't get my robe. I didn't get the new key.
No, they didn't give you that.
Maybe that's all going to come. I'm not sure.
No, it's not. No. There's just that. There's another step.
I gotta.
Yeah.
Is it one or is it
listen,
a couple
I'm gonna give you the good news. You're within 10 years of hitting that next step. Yeah. So it's attainable.
10 years.
Yeah. But congratulations. Did you give yourself this title or how did this come about?
No. D gave me a call and he goes, "Hey, we're changing your title." So I was like, all right, cool. That's always a good thing, right? I mean, if they're going to get new business cards for me, that's got to be a little, that's got to be some insurance. You know, I mean, if they send me 7 business cards, maybe the writing's on the wall. But if I get, if I get the 2 boxes like they send as usual,
wow. That's job security if you get 2 boxes.
If I get 2 boxes. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in trouble if my business cards comes in just a regular small envelope. Here you go. Here's your new cards.
And to be honest with you, in all transparency, I did know that your title, because we had the managers meeting. We sat around and someone said that Rob was asking for a raise, and we said, "Well, yeah, a raise." Listen, tell you what, let's give him a new title. And there you go.
That's all he needs, titles. Yeah. Money doesn't mean anything to me. It's all titles.
No. Hey man, congratulations in all seriousness. That's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
That really is.
Did you really know?
No. If you look back at the arc of your career, Rob, and from where you started in training, I've said it before, your fingerprints are on training in this industry big time, man. I mean, you've written a book. You literally wrote the book on training in a lot of ways. So I think you've now and then when you went from sport to pick back up into training and then to take off again. I mean, your career changed, and every time you had to pivot, you rose to the occasion. So kudos to you, man. You've done a good job. And not only that, you are very giving of your knowledge to the guys that you work with. You want them to shine. When you bring these young kids in, man, I mean, you're almost like a father figure to these guys. So you do a really good job with the guys, and you don't hold nothing back.
And the great thing about our guys is, I mean, the guys that we have now, and I mean, you've known some of our guys through training through the years and everything, and we've had some great teams, but I think this team that we have now, well, I know this team we have now, and especially with Dittmer coming on board too, but with our new talent, our young guys, man, the passion that they have for training, which it's kind of funny. I have a passion for it because I've been doing it since I was a kid. I loved it, and these guys are new to it and they have the passion for it. So when you're working with passionate people, man, your job is just so easy. I was at my brother and sister-in-law's house a couple weeks ago. We went over there for brunch on a Sunday, and my brother-in-law says to me, well, Pauline's retired now. So when do you think you're retired?
Mhm.
I said, never.
Yeah.
He goes, I go, what about you? He goes, oh yeah, I'm out of this. He has some state thing where he's a union negotiator or something like that with, what he does. And he goes, what do you mean never? I go, I love this. I go, I'm just having too much fun. I go, I don't know what I would do
Yeah.
if I left training. I mean, it's just I work with great people. The people that come to the classes are all, they want to be there.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just a win-win for me and everybody that comes to the class and everything. And I said to him, man, I'll do this as long as I can walk, because why would I leave this? Especially, yeah, I'm getting older and everything, but man, now I'm kind of in the zone with it, So why would you leave when you're just having so much fun? He just looked at me. He was so depressed. He goes, "Oh, I just hate my job." And I looked at him, I said, well, then if you hate it, like I know Pauline wasn't very happy with what was going on. So it's like, yeah, retire. You can retire.
Yeah.
It's time. Get
Yep.
out.
No doubt.
But when he said, when are you retiring? I was like, nah, I don't see when.
Yeah.
Too much fun.
Yep. Amen. All right. We are going to talk about something today that, you know, uh, winter's coming.
Winter is right around the corner.
Yeah. And that means a lot of things to a lot of people. It also means a lot to the hardwood floor guys. Before you move on to that, I just have to say, wish my wife a happy birthday today. Today's her birthday. And so, yep, had a nice surprise party for her last night, our friends, and pretty cool. Yep. All right. So we're going to talk about the winter is coming and what that means
Winter's
to
coming.
what it means to a hardwood floor guy. And it's funny because for guys in San Diego right now, that winter. I mean, with the weather's going from perfect to maybe a little slightly less than perfect.
Might be
So
cloudy. Yeah,
yeah, for
because
a few minutes.
that's funny you're jumping in front of that, because when you said that you wanted to do this show, winter's coming, I was like, he was a contractor in California. I'm pretty sure that some of the things I'm going to have on my list are not going to be on the Golden Boys list.
Well, I remember being in California and watching those home and garden TV shows where they show a guy coming in there sanding the floors, and he's bringing in the sander and 5 feet of snow outside the house, and he's got his winter coat on and his gloves on while he's edging. And I think, oh man, oh man, that looks brutal.
I
I
think I
mean,
sent you a picture of me sanding in the winter one
I
time.
still have that picture. Yes, yes, I remember that with the red hat on.
There was no heat in that house. It was about
Yeah.
15 degrees. Yeah, that was full full winter gear, gloves, the whole thing, sanding
Yeah.
away.
Wow. All right, so let's talk about some things that how this affects the poor man's life. And first, I'm going to go to an easy one, then I'm going to get one that's more important. But the first one is the salt. Dragging salt into the house, can wreak havoc on floors, and the dry salt leaves that white residue, and it can damage finish sometimes, and also salt is you can scratch the floor with it. So you need to vacuum a little bit more and clean the floor a little bit more and have rugs and all this stuff. We talk about expectations. This is something I definitely, if you live in these kind of climates, that I would have like maybe a checklist or something to note about seasonal changes with your wood floors. Don't take this one for granted because this sometimes can come back to be a real issue with some people. Especially you can imagine if you're salting, to a homeowner that doesn't know, they don't equate the two. You're salting the driveway, you're salting the walkway outside, and you're getting that on your feet. You would not really think that would affect the floor, and it can sometimes. So that's number one right out of the chute. Now I learned that from going up into Michigan and being with those guys out there.
And the other thing about salt, I mean, salt is such an issue that even with Bona Sport, we have a winter cleaner that has a formulation that just goes for the salt, because salt has changed. About 10 years ago, all the salt companies got together and they started to put an anti-clumping agent in the salt, because sometimes the salt would just turn to giant bricks and you'd have to smash it and everything to get it. And now, if you notice, salt doesn't really clump up anymore.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing they use with grated cheese. Grated cheese is covered with a chemical so it doesn't stick, an anti-clumping agent. Well, I don't know if it's the same one, but that's what they use with salt now. Well, what we found in the hardwood floor business is that anti-clumping agent is like a magnet on your shoes and on the floor. And it is got to be one of the toughest things in the world to clean up. Like I said, we came up with a winter formula at Bona Sport, because you'd have hundreds of kids walking through salt and then walking up and down hallways into gyms and everything. And you couldn't get this salt off. So I'm glad you touched right on that right off of the bat, because salt, especially the new salt now, can be an absolute killer
Do we
because of
still
this
sell
new
that?
chemical that's been put on it.
Do we still sell that winter formula? For cleaning
Yeah,
floors?
I'm pretty sure we do. I think it's on the sports side.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
It's funny too, you touched on the salt and having a throat. We always carried around, and it got to the point where I said, all right, we need to do something bigger than we usually do. So we had like an 8x8 remnant that we would carry everywhere with us. So when other trades were walking in, everybody kind of got it. You know what I mean?
This is
It'd
when
be
you were
one thing to have just a small, 2x3 entrance mat.
Mhm.
But when you walked in the door and you saw an 8x8 piece of carpet remnant and everybody's shoes and everything was on it, you had plenty of room to, take your shoes off, put new shoes on. And that's the other thing is, in the winter, I know everybody has coating shoes and stuff like that, but we definitely had two sets of shoes, one for getting there in and out of the truck, that kind of thing, and then one just for the job.
Gosh,
But that big remnant, that big 8x8, for some reason, you didn't even have to tell anybody. When a guy, electrician, whatever, would walk in the door and see that carpet there, he's like, okay, I got to get my shoes off here. Everybody else did. And there's,
that
plenty of room.
that is a really, really, really good idea. I never would have thought of that. I think, yeah, put down a little, 3x3 little area rug or whatever right there. But excuse me, to have it like an 8x8 rug that everybody changes out, and I can see maybe even carrying a bunch of booties for other trades or whatever. That's a great idea. Salt can also get in the cracks of the floors
Oof.
and become a coating problem down the road. So yeah, I learned that from you about the salt industry had changed, and that therefore affects our industry. So yeah, good stuff. All right, you want to go next? You want me to go next?
I'll go next. And this is another one we learned the hard way. Keep a couple shovels in your truck.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Painful to think about. Yeah.
I know. I'll never forget, Peter and I pulled up to a house, because a lot of the stuff that we would do is we get the snowbird work, where people fly to Florida. Here are the keys. Here's the contract, whatever. And man, I'll never forget, we were working over in Schenectady, New York, and it had snowed like crazy, really bad storm. It was like 2 feet. And him and I, it never dawned on us what we were pulling up to, And actually, we were fooling around because the truck was slipping and sliding in the snow, and we're laughing. Eee! And then we pulled up to this house, and there's the driveway. Nothing's been shoveled. These people are in Florida. We didn't have shovels in the truck.
Wow.
The next day, we got 2 shovels for the truck.
I have a idea what I would have done in a situation like that.
What was that?
Turned around and drove back to California. When I first moved back east, and you know how you have the things that clean the windshield with, you clean the snow and the frost off the windshield. And first time I saw one of those in the car, man, I wanted to cry. In California, we don't have those things. We don't have like the thing you take the ice. You know what I mean? You shovel the snow off the windshield and the ice off the windshield.
Yeah.
We never had one of those. Never dealt with that. When I saw that, I went, oh man, it's getting real. It's a different world. All
So
right.
you never had window scrapers,
Oh
nothing
my,
like that.
nobody in California carries that. Instead, we carry clubs in our car to lock the steering wheels. I'm like, everybody's got those. When I came here, nobody has them. I mean, as a matter of fact, it's funny. I've never seen a club since I left California, but everybody had a club for our cars in California.
What are you talking about? A club?
A club to lock the steering wheel so they can't steal your car. Yeah, you put it in your steering wheel, you lock it, and then if they get in the car, they can't unless they can somehow get past that. But you can't steal the car because there's a club in it. It's got the club with a lock that locks the steering wheel from turning. That cracks me up that you don't know what that is.
A club. Huh.
Yes. I have to tell you a story one time about a little road rage thing in the club one of these days. Yeah, but that's definitely a real thing. But I'll tell you something with winter. We talk about expectations. I think you have to, and this is probably the most important point I think of the show. You have to set customer expectations. Is that wood is hygroscopic. When they start, turning that thermostat up and the heat goes up, and you're drying out that air, the relative humidity changes in that house. When you start dropping that relative humidity, it's normal, by the way, normal to experience cracks in hardwood floors. That doesn't mean somebody did something wrong when they installed the floor. So we're going to wider and wider plank floors, and there are times when you may see some shrinkage. And like I said, it is normal to have some of that. So if a homeowner thinks, oh my gosh, what's going on with my floors? What did my guy, what did he do wrong? When you start getting that low, and wood wants to live in the same comfort zone we do, 35 to 55, 60% RH. You start getting below that 35, you drop down to the 30, 20, 25, lower, that floor is going to likely move. That's all part of it. I think there's things you can do. You can get a dehumidifier. We talk about those type of things, and there's, we'll talk about the different type of flooring you can put in. But I wanted to say one thing that's kind of interesting to me is that, so people will say, well, just put engineered floors in, right? Because they're more stable. But be aware that a lot of engineered flooring manufacturers now put in their warranties and in their instructions, if it drops below, say 35 RH, or if it gets outside of that 55 RH, it's no longer covered in the warranty. So that's a little sneaky little thing to remember, because you would not expect that to be in the instructions of an engineered floor, but that is absolutely the case in some cases. Also consider that some of these engineered floors now, the wear layer on them is so thick, 5 mil wear layer, 6 mil wear layer, that they almost start acting like a solid floor now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that just, I think you have to have that conversation with the homeowner. Some people will give the homeowner I think this is not a bad idea, hygrometer. Put it in a couple rooms. You see that thing dropping below, say 35 RH. There's a chance your floors can start to crack.
Well, two stories that I want to do here. Okay. One right off the bat, and anybody who's been to my school or Bona or any school that I've ever taught has heard the Mrs Plesser story. And it's funny because you just talked about it. Pete calls me over the weekend. He goes, hey, how'd the surgery go? Pete, my old partner. And I said, oh, it went really good and everything. So he was talking about a job he was on. We were just shooting the crap. And he goes, you remember, this is about 30 years ago today, or that we did Mrs. Plesser's floor. And I was like, oh my God, there's a name from the past. And it is exactly when Pete and I left my dad's company back in the 80s, we started doing white floors because you've all heard the story. Nobody was doing white floors. So Pete and I figured it out and we were getting tons of work for a new company. It was great, so we got a lot of white jobs. Well, we did this white job in, I would say, June or July. Came out perfect, right? Absolutely perfect. And then I get a call from her in like October, November, and she's like, Rob, there's black lines everywhere. Black lines. I was like, "Huh, okay, I'll come over, take a look at it. And I thought for sure in my head, sometimes you think, I know what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's gonna be from a vacuum cleaner because I had just seen it on a cherry floor. Somebody screwed up a cherry floor we had did with a bad vacuum. I go, I bet this is another vacuum cleaner thing. And I walked in, I'm looking and she goes, see these lines right here? They go the whole length of the room. And I'm like, oh, Mrs. Plesser, that's what we call seasonal expansion. I go, your floor expands and contracts. It's like a sponge, don't worry about it. It's nothing. And she says, well, it never happened before. And you can just see the words hanging right there in the,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And I looked at her, I go, well, of course it happened before. And she goes, Rob, I've lived in this house for 40 years and we have never had gaps like this. Now, when we got there, it was an old shellac floor. So it was
Yeah.
really, really dark.
Yep.
So you can't, dark red finish and a black line, they're going to be really hard to tell, right? But now you take a white floor
Hmm.
and those seams open up. And we did that thing in July. So she was tight as a drum. And wow, you want to see a conversation just fall off a
Yeah.
cliff
Wow.
because I had nowhere to go. And
Yeah.
I'm getting paperwork for her. I'm showing
Yeah.
her a bathroom door. And she just looked at me and she goes, and she just kept saying the same thing. It's something you did. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was like, no, I had people from the NWFA calling her. I mean, I had everybody. She didn't care.
Yeah.
Okay. She knew in her heart that it was something that we had done to that floor.
Yeah.
And Pete was like, what the hell are we gonna do?
Yeah.
She wants. I go, we're just gonna keep talking to her
Yeah.
until June.
Yeah. Yeah. Till you move
Okay.
back.
And in June, I bet we don't hear another word from her. And that's exactly how it went. You know,
You.
she was threatening lawsuits, she was threatening this and that. And I was like, we'll just keep paddling here. Okay. We'll
Mhm.
just keep moving. But I
Yep.
tell this story at every single school because so much of what we're doing now is Nordic, natural, white.
Yep.
The white craft oil. I mean, there's a lot of white out there. It's coming home, baby. And
Yep.
I tell everybody, listen, here's the conversation that you need to have with people,
Yeah.
especially when you're going in and seeing these wicked dark floors
Mhm.
and you're turning them white. There's going to be a drastic change. I said, this conversation is so easy to have before
On the front side.
on the front end of this. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. You're doing a drastic change. Here's what's going to happen. And it
Yeah.
doesn't even matter when you're doing the job, if it's the middle of the winter, the summer, whatever.
Yep.
Okay. Have it.
Yep.
Because
I,
if I had had that conversation with her before, I could have just went back in and I said, hey, remember I told you, or remember here, I
yeah.
put
Yeah.
it in writing
Yep. Even better
and you
yet.
signed it.
Yep.
There you go. Now you just walk out because especially now, I mean, I look back at that now and I think she probably trashed us to every single person
Yeah.
that she could talk to that would listen to her about these guys who ruined her floor.
Yeah.
Where we actually did an amazing job on the floor.
Knowing what you know now, right? I mean, like you said, it's so much easier to have that conversation up front. I see a lot of contractors now will either put that in their contract or they'll, as winter comes around, they'll send out a letter to their homeowners. Hey, just let you know,
Oh,
especially
that's a
like
good idea.
in California at one time, I called the NWFA about cracks in floors or something. I can't remember what it was about. But Rusty from the NWFA said, "Hey, let me ask you something. Are you guys having an unusually cold winter out there in California?" I go, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "I've never had so many calls about cracks in floors ever from California." I go, "Well, yeah, it is like crazy, crazy cold here." So, I mean, that just goes to tell you that had you ahead of time put it in a contract, talk to them about this, and then maybe put it on your website, and send out a newsletter. Just, hey, just want to let you know, it's coming. It is not a defect of the floor. It is normal with hardwood floors with seasonal changes. Here's how you can eliminate some of it. But just be aware it's going to happen. So you take that fight away, right? And listen, I live in the real world, man. I know that some people are going to complain no matter what, right? I remember when Jeremiah Strong, he'll never forget this floor as long as we did, because we laughed so hard out in the van. We did it was a maple floor, white stained maple floor. And like I say, it was smoking looking job. And she called us that winter and she said to come back, that there looks like there's some cracks in the floor. What's wrong with the floor? And we went back there and there's just little small hairline cracks, but they weren't there when we finished the job, right? But so I'm on my knees already and I'm in front of her and I'm explaining things. And then she took her foot out of her shoe to use her toe to point to something. And Rob, it was a hoof. It wasn't a, I never seen more funky looking toenails in my life. Yellow, long, creepy looking. And I was astonished. And we go back to bed and go, holy, did you see that? And we were blown away by it, man. I mean, that might be another problem, lady. That's something you might, this will
I'm
go
going to give you
away.
your money back, and
Yeah,
I want you to see a podiatrist.
yeah. Go
You
get a
have got the-
pedicure, or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that pedicure or manicure?
Yeah, when you can't use fingernail clippers and you got to use a set of dikes to do your toenails,
Yeah.
you know you got issues.
Jared, get a soft mouth in the truck. I'll take care of it. So, and I'm going to say this too, Rob.
About floors or toenails?
No, about life. Okay, about life is that I really do believe this. I am a perfectionist when it comes to floors. There's no, that's just a fact, and I will try to get them floors as good as I can possibly. And I'll just take my own home. Forget the homeowners. I will do with no end to get them look as good as I can possibly get them. Right. But when life happens, when you have a dog that is a family dog and you love that dog, and the dog puts some scratches in the floor, or you get some gaps in the floors or whatever, or maybe you get an indentation here that you didn't want to have. You know what I mean? That is just called life. And life isn't perfect. And there's a lot of things that are more important in this world. And you'll move on from that. And sometimes you see a homeowner that, oh, it gets the first scratch in the floor or whatever. And I get it. You paid a lot of money for it. But go to some of the finest homes in America. Look at the Hearst Castle. Look at the Biltmore Estate, North Carolina, where in fact they used to advertise the Biltmore Collection, these beautiful herringbone floors. Have you ever been there? There's
Never.
gaps all over them. And you know something? They're stunning. You know what I mean? The floors are going to age beautifully. They'll have that beautiful patina, and life is going to happen. And you're going to have little hairline cracks maybe here and there. Doesn't mean that anybody shorted you or took a shortcut, or doesn't mean that the floors aren't beautiful or whatever. It reminds me of, and every group in America, I think every people that's moved to America, this almost defines a generation. Is that, have you ever, and I guarantee you'll relate to this. Everybody probably will if they have old grandparents. They've got that one room in the house where all the furniture is covered in plastic. You know what I mean? Like this is the room that we don't go in.
Right.
If the Pope is ever going to come and visit us, we're going in that room there. But nobody sits on that couch because that's the expensive stuff. We don't use that room. And
My Johnsons, grandpa and grandma Johnson, they had a living room like that,
yes.
and Hummel figurines and all that stuff, and you got to use it one time a year. Christmas Eve.
And when you sit on them,
Christmas Eve. We
okay,
all could go into the room. Other than that, you did not go in that room during the rest of the year. You went into other rooms. But Christmas
no,
Eve, it was the big room on Christmas Eve.
yeah. And when we went in there to sit in there, we're still sitting on the plastic, and it's slippery and cold and squeaky and uncomfortable. And the funny thing about it is, by the time they actually like, all right, maybe the kids have moved, we can take the plastic off it. It's all outdated. It's you know what I mean? It's 30 years past its prime. So that's the way I look at. And here's the thing, and I'll tell you something. Our generation laughs at that right now, looking back at that, but they're worse. They're worse, and I'll tell you why.
Who's worse?
The generation today, all right, coming up today,
Okay.
all right. Now let me tell you why.
Tell me why they're worse.
Because you don't see that plastic on the couches anymore, right? You don't see that covering up that one room in case something gets a little damaged, whatever. You're seeing it on your floors. You're seeing it in LVT. You're seeing it in all these plastic floors that are, oh, they're going to be bulletproof. If I drop a can, it's not going to hurt the floor. If I run something across the floor, it may not scratch the floor, indent like a hardwood floor will. But you know something? They don't have the life and the character and the beauty and the warmth and the everything we've come to love in hardwood floors.
Or the repairability.
The repairability, the timelessness, the added value to your home.
I go back to the Mrs. Plesser story. She had hardwood floors, dark, dark, dark red. We did a 2-day sand job, and now they're white. Beautiful, white, gorgeous floors.
Yeah. Timeless.
Timeless.
Yeah.
Absolutely timeless. Where if you put an LVT, you're stuck with one color, and that floor, if that's scratch, everybody's on. I know we're right now, you and I are living through the LVT. And I know there's some hardwood guys out there like, oh my God, this is it. This is the end.
Mm-hmm.
We went through Pergo. Remember Pergo?
Yeah.
Pergo was it. You're going to replace wood floor. You never need a wood floor again. Pergo doesn't scratch, doesn't do this, doesn't do that. Well, look at what, in the end, what happened. I don't know if I can even say Pergo legally, but it scratches. It scratched. It wore. Okay. It didn't last. They're all throwaway floors.
When you put the plastic covers on all that beautiful furniture, you killed that furniture. You killed the soul of that couch. It's unusable. It's uncomfortable. There's you know what I mean? When you take plastic and try to make it look like wood, you've killed the whatever love affair we've had with whatever that beauty that and not. But
I'm gonna go with that. That's what I'm using in the school.
First and foremost,
LVT, LVP. It's got no soul.
No, I mean,
no soul. It's got no soul.
You've also the value of the house with hardwood floor. Any real estate agent will tell you, boom, hardwood floors, the value goes up, right? You put in hardwood floors, you're going to get that value. You're going to get that back many, many, many more times over the life of the floor. So I don't get it. So anyhow, I get off track with it.
And I know I've said it a million times on the show, but these damn home shows that show people, oh, look at the crappy house and look what we did to it. And then in the end, and we put this beautiful LVP, and I was like,
killed it.
Perfume on a pig. Way to go.
Yeah.
Why would you do it? That's what you did, huh? Mm-hmm. And one of these shows Pauline watches, they love to reclaim stuff. And, we ripped this wall down, but we made, we made shelving and crap out of it, or, a dining room table out of it. And then with all the stuff they do, and then in the end, we ran out of money, so we put this crap down.
Yeah.
That will be in a landfill in 12 years and never go away.
Yep.
Way to go.
So we'll go on to the next thing is for winter.
Boy, did we get off on a rant there, huh?
We really did, but it needs to be said, damn it.
Yeah. Let's just go back to one thing that was on that rant. If you're changing the color of that floor, you got to have that discussion about what's going to happen to it in the winter.
Yeah.
And I like your idea. Hey, maybe even send out a letter in September.
Mhm. Yep.
Here's what's coming. Here's another one. I had Bum was going off to do a job about a year ago. He was actually going a couple hours up into the mountains, and he wasn't going to be able to. He needed to have everything. There was no distributors he was going to be able to go to. So him and I were kind of going through the laundry list,
Mhm.
and I called him up that night after he left, and I go, "Hey, I just thought of one." I go, "Make sure you get some retarder. Bring some retarder with you." And he's like, "Oh, geez, that's good." He calls me up from the job. He goes, "Can't believe it. I needed the retarder.
Wow.
It was a forced hot air, and it was just the room was just extremely dry. It got really cold. They had been running the heat for a month or two. He get up there, he needed that retarder. He goes, that was a lifesaver. So I've been kind of telling everybody at the school, especially now, retarder in July in New York, New Jersey area,
Yeah.
usually we got a lot of humidity. So finish is going to have some time to flow and level. But come February, we did a school up in Toronto in the end of January, and that floor was dry. I mean, we had to turn the heat on and everything. And it was great because we did get to show the students what retarder can do.
Mhm.
So
Nice.
throw some retarder in the truck. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to cost a ton of money, but it's one of those products that, oh my God, I wish I had it. It's kind of like the 36 grit platinum. You're going to use it every day? No, but it's just one of those nice tools for the truck.
Yeah. So you kind of went along the same lines I was going to talk about too, is that when I talk about honor the dry time, there's no more important time to do it than in the wintertime. These stains, the cans, they're cold. I always say it's the same can in January as it is in August. It's the same can in Alaska as it is in Hawaii. The stain doesn't change. It's the conditions that change. And knowing that it's going to be super cold, maybe we don't have the heat we need or whatever, you really need to honor the dry times. You take a heavy pigmented stain and you water pop the floor and you think it's going to dry in 2 hours like it did in August. That's not happening. And honestly, it's not happening in August either. If you water pop the floor, that 2 hour window goes out the window. You should wait overnight. But it could drastically alter your dry times. So when you're coating, really want to make sure you honor the dry time and allow yourself enough time to do that, because that's a painful callback to get when it could have. Sometimes toughest thing to do is hold off. I mean, we've all been there before when we get there to put the coat on the floor and you start. The first indicator to me is it smells stronger than it should right now, and then it feels a little sticky under the foot, right? And then you take a white towel, you put it on the floor, rub it across there. You're getting a little stain transfer, and everything in your body wants to say, "I got to get this thing coated today." That's the schedule. But man, there are times when I say it all the time that you got a schedule, the homeowner's got a schedule, contractor's got a schedule, but that floor's got a schedule too, and it don't care about us. Sometimes you have to let the science, you have to let the chemistry do its thing, and have the confidence in the patience to walk off and come back to fight another day.
Yeah, Peter and I won. It was like our first or second year in business. Had a huge job right before Christmas, huge, and it was going to be a big payday. And we were new, so, and we both had a couple of young kids at the time, so there was a lot riding on this job. Everything went great. It was a huge, huge house, 2 floors, probably, probably close to 3,000 feet of southern yellow pine. And this was way back in the 80s, so we had used Coda Minwax. And that floor never dried.
Mhm.
And we finally found out what was going on because he was running salamander heaters during the day, but shutting stuff down. So we coated it, we stained it at night, and he shut everything off and was dipping down into the into the 20s, and so wasn't the house.
Yeah.
So what like you said, honor thy dry times and everything. That's when Peter and I learned that we used to carry a couple of electric heaters around in the truck with us, so we could maintain, because you need to maintain proper heat at least 60 degrees 24 hours a day while the finish is on the floor, not just for the morning or the afternoon.
Yeah.
So honor thy dry times. Remember we were talking about the picture of me sanding in the winter?
Mhm.
That was one of the jobs where we had our own heaters.
Yeah.
Just a couple electric heaters, just enough to keep that place buttoned up,
Yeah.
but warm enough to get finished. Because boy, can that be a killer when you're waiting on finish and stuff to dry and it's just too cold. Once it drops
Yeah.
below 50 degrees, I tell everybody you want to go to 60. The lab
Yeah.
guys will tell you 50. I tell everybody 50, 60, just to give you a little bit of a cushion, you know. But
Well, that also goes for your adhesives, by the way. You want to make sure you bring the adhesive in the house, make sure the adhesives are warm, make sure you're not installing on a freezing cold slab. You need to acclimate that for the adhesives as well. And
I didn't know that. That's a good one.
and a lot of people think, well, we'll use propane heaters to heat up the jobs. Well, the byproduct when you burn propane is H2O, which is moisture, which is water, and so that you do not want that. So I don't think that the propane heaters are the answer either.
No, we used to just have the rotating
Yeah,
electric heaters
yeah, yeah.
that would just
By
had a
the way,
fan, had a heat, just enough
yeah,
to keep that area.
yeah,
So is it the same numbers for the adhesives that we tell everybody we finish?
yeah. 65 degrees is really,
Okay.
optimum. You really don't want to go too much lower than that. And also heat up your adhesives. Also makes your life easier as far as spreading the adhesives as well. So that's wintertime, right? I mean,
Winter,
there's
baby.
yeah, it's like anything else. I mean, it presents some challenges, but we just have to kind of adjust to the season, especially back east here when there are actually seasons. I didn't ever had to deal with that in California. So this is it was an eye opener for me. I'll tell you, the first time
Yeah, you guys only have to deal with that, those little things like earthquakes and forest fires
yeah,
and
yeah,
those
yeah.
minor things.
Those are our seasons. Yeah, forest
Yeah.
fires and earthquakes. So yeah, so I think we covered everything, Rob. Um,
Oh my God, I could go on for about an hour more.
well, real
Yeah,
quickly,
there's a lot of stuff. There's a
okay,
lot of stuff. Yeah.
real quickly, then I'll throw in some things quickly, and you can too if you want. One, you could consider going with a ripped and corded flooring if you're worried about gaps in the severe conditions. You can, or all rips on, even better yet. You can go more narrow boards instead of the wider planks. But again, I think it all starts with, as we say at the bonus school all the time, is the customer expectations. If you want white plank, cherry floors, and you got 5 kids and pets and everything, well, here's the expectations, and here's what your floor is going to do. You know what I mean? If you're really anal about this kind of cracks and everything, you go with maybe an engineered narrow floor. Different species make a difference on um, some are more dimensionally stable than others. So just all about customer expectations. Set the job up as best you can. And again, we've said this before, you get the building ready for the flooring, and then you get the flooring ready for the building, right? Make sure that you get the floor in the building in living conditions, because that's where the floor wants to live too. No sense acclimating to a job site where it's 50 degrees out, because 50 degrees in place and there's no HVAC on. As soon as they move in, they're going to crank the heat up, and that floor is going to change. It's going to shrink. So that's number one. And also, by the way, when we told you, I'm going to go quick here. When you stack the wood in the house, make sure you stack it and cross stack it, leave room for ventilation, not just put it all in one room without doing that. So those are some things you can do also that are going to help you in the winter. But I think above all is have the conversation with the homeowner ahead of time, so they're not shocked when they see something like this.
Yep. One more thing about winter, you might have a little slow time. You like to have a little downtime. Slow time and downtime means you got time for training.
There you go. Yep.
You're up in New York and you're up in Buffalo. Come on down to Nashville. Come on.
There
Bring
you
your
go.
guys down to Nashville. We'll do some training. Get you in the warmth.
Good way to end it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Also, good way to end it because I saw you were out of bullets right there. You were searching for that next word and it wasn't coming.
Oh,
And so I thought, well, I'm going to bail you out here. And I did.
noticed that you didn't jump right in though.
I let you hang for a minute.
You let me hang
Yeah, for a little
just
bit.
enough to make me look like a dummy.
That way it's like a passive aggressive. That I look like I'm a hero. You know, it made it about me. All right, buddy. Good to see you again.
Always a pleasure, pal.
Yep. Glad to see you're on the mend with your cancer thing there.
Oh, look at that. She's beautiful,
Yeah.
isn't she?
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
Oh, don't get too
Nice.
close to the camera there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys very much for listening to the podcast. We really certainly appreciate it. And this has been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.